The ring on my finger cost more than most people make in a lifetime. The mansion I live in overlooks the Han River with a view that takes your breath away. And the man who gave them to me? He's the most dangerous person in Seoul. But 6 months ago, I was a broke nursing student from Lagos working night shifts at a Nigerian restaurant in Itaewon. I had less than 500,000 won in my bank account and a tiny goshiwon room with no window. Everything changed the night I took a shortcut through an alley in Gangnam. That's when I found him, blood pooling beneath his designer suit. His face, half hidden in shadow. And his eyes, locked on mine with an intensity that made my breath stop. He whispered 3 words in Korean. 3 words that would drag me into a world of violence, loyalty, and secrets that the Korean National Police had been trying to uncover for 20 years. I should have called 119. I should have run. But I didn't. And now, I'm about to tell you why that decision cost me everything I thought I knew about right and wrong. Stay with me. Because what happened next, nobody could have predicted. Not the police. Not his enemies. And definitely not me. Who was the man bleeding in that alley? A chaebol? A criminal mastermind? Or something far more complicated? Why would someone like him give everything to someone like me, a complete stranger, a foreigner in his country? And here's the question that kept me awake for months. Was I saved by him? Or was I trapped? By the end of this story, you'll know the answers. But I'm warning you now, the truth is darker than you think. The twist? It's not what you expect. And the choice I had to make at the end changed not just my life, but the lives of dozens of people across Seoul. This is the true story of how a 5-minute act of kindness pulled me into the Korean underworld. And how I discovered that debts in that world are never, ever free. My name is Sarah Adeyemi. I'm 28 years old. And 6 months ago, I was invisible. I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. My mother was a nurse. My father owned a small electronics shop in Ikeja. I learned early that if you want something, you work for it. No shortcuts. No handouts. When I moved to Seoul 2 years ago, I had one goal: finish my nursing degree at Korea University and build a life that meant something. The scholarship was competitive. Only 5 international students. I was the only African. I worked at Mama's Place, a Nigerian restaurant in Itaewon, serving jollof rice and suya to homesick Africans and curious Koreans. The owner, Auntie Grace, treated me like family. The regular customers knew my story. They cheered when I aced my exams. But the money was tight. My goshiwon was so small I could touch both walls with my arms spread. Some nights, I'd take the last train home at midnight, exhausted, wondering if I'd made a mistake leaving Lagos. December 14th. That was the night everything changed. I'd just finished a 10-hour shift. My feet were killing me. It was snowing, that heavy Seoul snow that muffles all sound. I decided to cut through the alley behind the Gangnam Finance District. I'd done it before. It shaved off 10 minutes to the subway. I wasn't thinking about danger. I was thinking about my heating bill. That's when I heard it. A sound like air escaping from a tire. Slow. Wet. Wrong. I turned. And that's when I saw him. He was slumped against a dumpster. His black suit was soaked, but not from the snow. Blood. So much blood. It was spreading across the frozen ground like spilled ink. His face was pale. Strong features. Maybe mid-40s. Even in that moment, barely conscious, there was something about him. Power. Control. Like he was used to people doing exactly what he said. Our eyes met. And he spoke. His voice was rough, but clear. Dowajuseyo. Help me. Every instinct screamed at me to run. This wasn't some accident. The way he was dressed. The wound in his side. The expensive watch on his wrist. This was something bad. Something organized. But I'm a nursing student. I've spent 2 years learning that when someone is dying, you don't ask questions. You act. I dropped to my knees beside him. Pulled out my phone. Started to dial 119. His hand shot out. Faster than someone losing that much blood should be able to move. He grabbed my wrist. No police. His voice was firm. Commanding. You need a hospital, I said in Korean. You're going to die. He stared at me. And then he said something I'll never forget. If you call the police, we both die. I should have run. I should have called anyway. But something in his eyes made me believe him. Fear. Real fear. And I realized he wasn't threatening me. He was warning me. I made a choice. My goshiwon is 3 subway stops away, I said. Can you walk? He nodded. Barely. It took us 40 minutes. 3 stops on line 2. Every step, I thought he was going to collapse. Every passenger that glanced our way, I expected someone to stop us. But Seoul at midnight is a city of people minding their own business. A drunk businessman leaning on a foreign woman? Nobody looked twice. We made it to my building in Sinchon. Up 3 flights of stairs. Into my tiny room that was barely bigger than a closet. I got him onto my narrow bed. Cut open his shirt. The wound was deep. A knife. Clean cut, like whoever did it knew exactly where to aim. I worked fast. Cleaned the wound. Stopped the bleeding. Used everything I'd learned in clinical rotations. My hands were shaking, but I didn't stop. He watched me the entire time. Never flinched. Never made a sound. When I finished, I sat back on the floor. My room looked like a crime scene. Blood on the floor. Bandages everywhere. And this stranger on my bed, his eyes still locked on mine. Who are you? I asked in Korean. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. My name is Jin Park. And the people who did this will come looking for me. I felt my chest tighten. Then why am I helping you? Why didn't you go to a hospital? Because the people who stabbed me have connections everywhere. Police. Hospitals. Government offices. I laughed. I actually laughed. Because it sounded insane. Like something from a K-drama. But he didn't smile. You don't believe me, he said. Should I? He reached into his jacket. Slowly. Pulled out a phone. Unlocked it. Showed me a photo. It was him. Younger. Standing next to a man in an expensive suit. And in the background, a face I recognized. A National Assembly member. Someone I'd seen on the news. I run an organization, Jin said. We operate in the shadows. We protect our people when the law won't. And 4 hours ago, I learned that someone inside my organization wants me dead. My mouth went dry. You're telling me you're a criminal. I'm telling you I'm the only thing standing between certain communities in Seoul and the people who want to erase them. I stood up. Or tried to in the cramped space. You need to leave. He nodded. Started to stand. And then he collapsed. I caught him. Barely. And I realized he wasn't going anywhere. Not tonight. That's when I heard it. A knock at my door. 3 slow knocks. Deliberate. Jin's eyes went wide. Don't answer it, he whispered. If you're still watching, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to see how far this story has traveled. Are you Team Sarah or Team Jin? Let me know. The knocking stopped. I stood frozen in my tiny room, holding my breath, listening. Silence. Then footsteps. Walking away down the hallway. Jin exhaled slowly. They're checking all the goshiwon buildings. They know I'm close. Who's they? I demanded. A rival faction. They've been trying to take control of certain territories in Seoul for 3 years. I felt like I was in a nightmare. And you just brought them to my door. I didn't bring them anywhere. You chose to help me. He was right. And I hated that he was right. I spent that night sitting on the floor, watching the door, jumping at every sound. Jin drifted in and out of consciousness. By morning, I'd made a decision. I was going to figure out who he really was. I started searching online. Jin Park. Seoul. Organized crime. Nothing. No criminal record. No news articles. It was like he didn't exist. Then I tried a different approach. I searched in Korean for Seoul Underground Protection. And that's when I found it. An old article from 2020. Shadow Network protects migrant workers and small business owners from exploitation. The article mentioned a mysterious figure known only as the mediator. Someone who settled disputes, protected vulnerable people, and occasionally made problems disappear. No names. No photos. But the description matched. I looked at Jin, asleep on my bed, and realized I'd saved someone important. Someone dangerous. Over the next 4 days, Jin recovered in my goshiwon. I called in sick to work. Told my landlord I had the flu. And slowly, Jin started talking. He told me about growing up in Busan, coming to Seoul at 20 with nothing, working in construction, sleeping in jjimjilbangs, and watching as gangs terrorized foreign workers and small business owners who were too scared to go to the police. The law doesn't protect everyone equally, he said. Especially not foreigners. Especially not the poor. So we became our own law. He told me about building his organization. Not through violence, but through loyalty. Protection that actually provided protection. Mediating disputes before they turned bloody. I'm not a saint, he admitted. But I'm not a monster either. I wanted to believe him. And that scared me more than anything. On the 5th day, Jin made a phone call. He spoke in rapid Korean, his voice low and commanding. When he hung up, he turned to me. My people are coming. They'll move me somewhere safe. Good, I said, trying to sound relieved. He stood. The room was so small we were almost touching. He handed me something. A business card. Thick. Expensive. No name. Just a phone number embossed in gold. If you ever need anything at all, you call this number. I don't want anything from you. He smiled. Sad. Knowing. You will. And then he left. 2 men in dark coats came to my door. They helped him down the stairs. And just like that, he was gone. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 3 weeks passed. I went back to work. Back to my classes. Tried to forget about Jin Park and his world of shadows. But Seoul remembered me. I started noticing things. The way people looked at me at Mama's place. Respectful. Almost afraid. Auntie Grace brought me homemade food every day. The landlord suddenly fixed everything in my goshiwon. When I asked why, they just smiled and said, "You're protected now." Then, one morning, I found an envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a key card. And an address in Gangnam. I took the subway there after class. My hands shaking the entire way. The address led to a luxury apartment building. The kind with security guards and marble lobbies. The kind I'd only seen in dramas. I used the key card. The elevator opened. I went to the top floor. The penthouse. The door opened before I could knock. Jin stood there. Heeled. Impeccably dressed in a black suit. Smiling. What is this? I asked. Thank you. For what? I cleaned a wound. That's it. You risked your life for a stranger. In my world, that debt is unrepayable. But I'm going to try. He led me inside. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. Modern furniture. Art on the walls. A kitchen bigger than my entire goshiwon. This is yours, he said. I laughed. Because it was absurd. I can't accept this. You already have. The lease is in your name. Paid for 10 years. No strings. I felt dizzy. Why? He looked at me. And for the first time, I saw something vulnerable in his eyes. Because in 20 years, no one has ever helped me without wanting something in return. You didn't ask who I was. You didn't ask for money. You just helped. And that's rare. Especially for someone like me. Especially from a foreigner in this country. I should have said no. Should have walked away. But I looked around that apartment. And I thought about my student loans. My goshiwon with no window. Working doubles just to survive. There's always strings, I said quietly. Not this time. He handed me something else. A small box. I opened it. Inside was a ring. White gold. A single diamond. Simple. Beautiful. What is this? Protection, Jin said. Anyone in Seoul's underground sees that ring. They know you're under my protection. No one will touch you. No one will threaten you. You're safe. I don't need protection. You do now. The moment you helped me, you became part of this. My enemies don't forget. My blood ran cold. You said there were no strings. There aren't. But there are consequences. And I'm trying to keep you alive. I slipped the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly. How did you know my size? He smiled. I know a lot about you, Sarah Adeyemi. You're a good person. And good people are hard to find. I moved into the apartment that week. It felt like a dream. Or a trap. I couldn't tell which. But I was about to find out. Living in that penthouse changed everything. My classmates started asking questions. People at Mama's place treated me differently. I'd crossed an invisible line. Jin visited occasionally. Always polite. Always respectful. We'd have dinner. Talk about everything except his business. He asked about Nigeria. I asked about Busan. We were two foreigners in our own ways, trying to belong. I started to see him differently. Not as a criminal, but as someone trying to protect something he loved. Then, for months after I moved in, Jin showed up at 1 a.m. His face grim. We need to talk. He led me to the living room. Closed the curtains overlooking the river. The rival faction is making their move. Tomorrow night, they're going to attack 3 locations. Small businesses. Foreign-owned. Kill the owners. Send a message that foreigners aren't safe here. Tell the police. The police won't care. These are African businesses. Chinese businesses. Southeast Asian. Not Korean enough to matter. Then what are you going to do? He looked at me. And I saw it. The weight he carried. The impossible choices. I'm going to stop them. But it's going to be dangerous. And I need you to know that everything I've given you comes with a choice. What choice? You can walk away. Tonight. I'll transfer the apartment to your name permanently. No contact. No connection. You finish your degree. You'll be safe. Or you stay. And you help me. I felt my heart pounding. Help you how? I'm not a criminal. You're a nurse. People are going to get hurt tomorrow. My people. Maybe me. And I need someone I trust to keep them alive. I stared at him. This was the string. The price. If I say no, then you say no. I won't blame you. But I need to know now. I thought about Auntie Grace. The Nigerian families at Mama's place. The Chinese restaurant owner who always gave me free dumplings. All the foreigners like me, trying to survive in Seoul. I thought about Jin. Bleeding in that alley. Trusting me when he had no reason to. And I thought about myself. Who I wanted to be. I'll help, I heard myself say. Jin nodded. Then we leave in 1 hour. That night, I learned what Jin's world really looked like. We drove to a warehouse in Giro. Inside, 40 people. Korean. Chinese. Filipino. Nigerian. All armed. All loyal to Jin. He addressed them in Korean. His voice commanding. A leader. Then the plan unfolded. 3 teams. 3 locations. Precision. Strategy. And me. Set up in a back room with medical supplies. Waiting. The call came at 11 p.m. We have wounded. They brought in 6 people. Knife wounds. A gunshot. 1 with internal bleeding. I worked for 7 hours straight. No time to think. Just react. Save lives. When it was over, Jin found me. Blood on his shirt. Exhausted. It's done, he said. The threat is neutralized. I sat down. My hands shaking. I just helped a criminal organization. You just saved 15 lives. Including 3 shop owners who would be dead right now. That's not how the law sees it. He sat beside me. The law sees what it wants to see. You see what's real. We sat in silence. Then Jin said something that changed everything. I'm leaving. I looked at him. What? This war proved something. I can't keep doing this. Every time I try to protect people, more people get hurt. It's time for someone else to lead. Where will you go? Busan. I have family there. A different life. And me? You keep the apartment. The ring. Everything. It's yours. Free and clear. I felt something crack inside me. You're just leaving? I'm setting you free. And myself. He stood. Walked to the door. Turned back. Thank you, Sarah. For seeing me as human. In a country where people like me are invisible, you saw me. And then he was gone. That was 6 months ago. Jin Park disappeared. No one's seen him since. The organization he built dissolved. Some of his people went legitimate. Others vanished into other cities. I still live in the penthouse. I graduated from Korea University last month. Top of my class. I work at a community clinic in Itaewon now. Treating migrant workers. People without insurance. People the system forgot. And every day, I wear the ring. People ask me about it sometimes. I tell them it was a gift. They don't need to know the whole story. But here's what I learned. Right and wrong aren't always black and white. Sometimes, the most moral thing you can do is break the rules. Sometimes, the people the law calls criminals are the only ones protecting the vulnerable. I saved a criminal. He gave me a mansion and a ring. And in return, I helped him save lives. Was it worth it? I still don't know. But I'd do it again. So here's my question for you. If you found someone bleeding in an alley, would you help them? Even if you knew they were dangerous? Even if it could cost you everything? Even if they were different from you in every way? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And if this story made you think, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because stories like this, they're happening every day. In every city. In Seoul. In Lagos. In your city. And most people never know. Subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for listening to my story.